Good afternoon. It is Friday, September 7th, 2012. This is Jason Horak reporting on his electric vehicle. Yesterday I did a whole lot of work. Didn't really have time to document anything because I was just so busy trying to fix the car and make it go. Running out of time here, got a lot that needs to happen. And this car is my daily driver, so being without it was extremely difficult these last 3 weeks. So it's time for it to work again. So what we've got here is the back battery box, and you can see the piece of wood that normally goes over this space right here and where the charger rests on. But just to give you a quick view of the inside of this back battery box, or the middle battery box rather, that's now underneath the seats. And again, this is right where the seats go, the rear seats, in the back. So, alright, so here we go with a super tricky to film kind of thing, because we're going to be looking at the into the battery box, just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on back here. So what we can see here is that's the NEMA 14-50 220 outlet that's wired to the gas filler cap, and that other cable there is the just the Anderson connector that plugs into the charger and plugs into the DC side of things. So you know, nothing's touching anything down here because of course it's all foam. And there we go. So in here, kind of hidden down in there, that is the negative side of the battery pack down here, this little 4 battery pack, and they're strapped together. Again, it's really hard to get the camera in here, but trying to give you the best view I can. So that's the positive connection. And so the positive connection there just goes up this cable here and into the rear battery box and hooks to the negative here, because you're always wiring positive to negative. And so anyway, so that goes there, and then that other negative lead, again showing there, is what actually goes out and goes to the front engine compartment where the front battery box is. So anyway, that's the whole wiring here. Obscene amount of work for 4 batteries, but you know, now we have a nice secure, you know, weather-tight compartment back here to house all these cables, and you know, to keep the dust and stuff out from the interior of the car. So anyway, I'll be putting that black piece of wood there back across here, and then I've got some of that blue foam with some good old what is it, Gorilla Tape there, and so that just goes over in that space and kind of seals up the hole, fills up the gap created by the contours of the car, and allows us to you know, use that shelf for something useful, like say holding the charger. So anyway, that's the whole mid battery box from the top, and I will go ahead and get some shots of underneath the car now that all that wiring has been completed. So let me reposition the lights and I'll be right back. Alright, just a real quick overview. This is the rear compartment of the electric car with the rear seats reinstalled, just to kind of give you an idea on what it looks like normally without all the stuff all ripped out. So one of my big design considerations in this car was I really wanted to keep both back seats. You know, the car originally seated 4, and I wanted it to even after it was an electric. So I sure could have put a lot of batteries back here, but having a couple passengers, extra passengers, is, you know, kind of cool. So anyway, and this is what it looks like from the rear battery box. And again, you can see that black board, where again normally the charger sits right there on the left hand side, and I will be putting the charger back in pretty shortly, but I had blown a fuse in it and ended up spending some time getting that repaired. So anyway, what we wanted to show you was what all this wiring looks like underneath the car. And I probably won't be able to show it very well, but we'll do my best. So here we go. Okay, so there is the rear battery, or the mid battery box. All nice and shiny and up in there. And then you can see all the wires come out the front of it. So there's just the 3 cables really. One is the positive from the mid battery box, one is the negative. Actually, the positive comes from the back battery box directly. The negative comes from the mid battery box after going through those 4 batteries. But then the 3rd cable is just the DC positive and negative that go from the charger up to the main distribution point. You know, the high voltage wiring shelf up front. So anyway, there's the wires. They're all, you know, carefully zip tied up in there, so they're not gonna, you know, be dragging. You know, again, from a profile shot, there's nothing that's, you know, hanging down or anything under the car. Lowest point being the mid battery box and these support beam type of things. So anyway, so up in the front, all that wiring stuff, it goes up next to the power steering pump, the electric power steering pump that's up in there, and I can kind of see the Anderson connector there for the power steering pump. That's the low voltage, you know, high amp, low voltage, 12 volt thing that runs the power steering pump. So yeah, and then those snake up into the engine compartment, which I'll show you in a moment. So go ahead and actually we'll take a look at that now. So that was a pretty major thing. Again, all this happened yesterday. It was sort of an epic amount of work for relatively, I don't know, I think I put in about a 13 or 14 hour day. And so here is the new first view of the new engine compartment with the larger battery box and all that put in place. Now, as you can see, I still have the plexiglass piece that was cut for the old battery box because I don't have the new one cut yet, but this kind of gives you an idea of just the change. This notch was what was missing. That's all new. So that was fun. Anyway, getting all the batteries in here was challenging as usual. And I kind of changed the configuration. You can sort of tell from the way that it's wired. Before, I had a short piece that went from this terminal to this one here, so it was just kind of like a little guy here, and then I had the negative, the pack negative was actually wired, I think, to this cell here. Now it's positive, but it was negative before, and then that was wired around and up into there. So there were just, you know, the 2 cables. So I've changed, it's got the same 2 cables, but they've kind of moved position. I thought this might be a little cleaner to set it up this way. You know, just more of a visual impact of seeing the way things are set up. So anyway, but that's all. This ends up being the actual pack negative for the entire pack. So it comes in from the back battery box. The positive, well, the negative technically that comes out of the back battery box goes up here. This is this cable here, and it goes right into this front pack right here. So it's always, you know, again, negative in the back connected to positive in the front, and then all wired through in series, so that it makes this one the pack negative. Comes out here, goes into the maintenance disconnect switch, goes out of the maintenance disconnect switch, down around, and actually through this, which is the shunt box that measures the amp that's going by and so forth. And then from out of that, it goes into the actual distribution point for the pack negative. So that's the whole line of the negative wire. The positive wire is pretty straightforward. It comes from the back battery box right up here and into the fuse, and then the fuse goes right here to the pack positive. So, you know, the wiring really isn't all that complicated. You know, you just got to figure out how to get all those all those batteries in series, no matter where they're located in the car. You know, and then wire them up. So now that we have our distribution point, you know, again, pack positive, pack negative, then these two leads here and here go to the soliton, which is underneath. And again, all of this was previously shown in other videos, and that's where the battery leads come in for positive and negative into the soliton. And then it goes out of the soliton on this side, positive and negative, which are wired right there to the motor, positive and negative. So that is the entire circuit, the high voltage circuit anyway, and you know, we're back in. So we're going to go ahead and lower the car down now. So this is kind of the final shot underneath before hopefully the car doesn't have to be up on jack stands anymore, and we could commence driving it. So we're going to go ahead and go out for a test drive and you know, see what happens. Hopefully everything will work. Time will tell. Anyway, this is Jason Horak, September 7th, 2012. Have a wonderful day.